So we will continue the story, A Letter to God. But before we proceed, let us recapitulate what we had discussed last week. I'll ask you the questions. Okay? Yes. The story revolves around whom? Who is the protagonist of the story? Who is the main character of the story?
Lencho.
Lencho is the main character of the story. Who is Lencho?
Lencho is a farmer.
A farmer. Where does he live?
In a valley.
In a valley on the top of a low hill, right? Does Lencho have neighbors?
No, ma'am.
Why? Why do you say he doesn't have neighbors?
He is the only one who lives in the entire valley.
Right. His is the only house in the entire valley, right? The whole valley where he lives, there is a river flowing, and then there are the ripe corns, right? The crops of the corn, which is full of flowers, which is covered with flowers. The farmer, that is Lencho, he is continuously looking at the sky. Why is he doing so?
Because he wants some shower or rain for his crops.
Right. So he is expecting that it would rain soon, right? Okay. So he had noticed, he had analyzed the weather conditions in the sky, on the basis of which he was very hopeful that it would rain. Did it rain?
No, ma'am. It was hailstones.
It did not rain, but there was a hailstorm. You would say that yes, it did start raining first, but later on it turned into a hailstorm. When it started raining, what was the feeling of Lencho?
When rain started, Lencho felt good for his crops.
All right. He felt very happy, right? He was very happy to see it was raining because it was good for his crops, right? Here, what was his instant reaction at the raindrops falling from the sky? Yes.
He was happy.
What did he call these raindrops?
He called in money like big drops for 10-cent pieces and little one are 5s.
Right. So the raindrops, he termed the raindrops as the new coins, the big drops as 10-cent pieces, and the small drops as 5 ones. Right? Why did he describe them as new coins?
Because it was raining, and when the crops get rain, they will grow, and when he sell these crops in the market, he get money for his house.
For his survival, right? Perfect. So he was happy and he called these raindrops as new coins because he knew that the rain would help a healthy growth of his crop. And if a good crop is yielded, definitely he would earn enough money or a lot of money for his survival, right? Okay. But soon after that, there had been hailstorm falling. And these hailstorms, the writer has described the hailstones as
frozen pearls.
The frozen pearls, the boys, that is Lancho's son. He ran to collect the frozen pearls, which the writer had also described as new silver coins. But actually, they were not silver coins. They were disastrous, devastating for Lancho's crops, right? Okay. Now, why was Lancho worried at the fall of the hailstones?
Lancho was worried when the hailstorms hit the field or crop of his crops because it was destroy all the crops.
Right. He was worried because he knew that the rain was good, but the hailstorm was not good for the crops. Soon he found Soon he found the whole field turning white, covered with, as if covered with the salt, because it was covered with the hailstones completely. It was not a good sign because the hailstones, they would destroy the crops. And yes, they did destroy the crops. He addressed his sons, telling them the destruction was so much that he said a plague of locust would have left more than this. Locust, they are the insects which are known for destroying the crops. That if the locusts appear in the fields, then the crops cannot be saved. They would destroy the crops completely. But the hailstones have caused so much destruction that Lencho thought if locust had attacked the crops, perhaps some amount of the crops would have been saved, would have been spared by them, would have been left. But the hailstones had completely destroyed the crops, and nothing was left there. Lencho and the family, they were very sad. Why were they sad? The crop is destroyed. So, so how is it going to impact the family?
They would not get enough money to survival.
Right, they would not get enough money for survival. They would not get anything to eat. They would stay hungry. They would have to stay hungry. Hungry here does not mean that they would not get anything to eat. Hungry meaning they would be deprived. They would be deprived of all the amenities because they would have no money to buy anything for their survival. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt till here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us continue what happened. Now the crop has been destroyed. It cannot be saved. And the whole year is there for the farmer. The poor farmers, they wait for the rain once in a year when it falls and it helps their crops to grow. But that moment has gone now because it did rain, but in the form of hailstorm. And it had completely destroyed the crops. How would he meet the ends the whole year? Now let us see where is the solution. Does he get any solution to solve this problem or not? But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope, help from God. But in the hearts of all the family members of Lencho who were living in the same house on the top of the hill, in that solitary house, solitary, lonely, because there was that one single house only. In that lonely house in the valley, all of them, now they had only one hope. What? That the God would help them. God can help them. Yes, Anmol, it happens when we are going through the crisis, when we are going through a difficult moment, then what happens? We just give up because we don't find any means to help us. We get so helpless, we get so desperate. But then, in the midst of all this, there is only one spark, that one feeling that we have is that only God can help us. You see that in the examination hall also, when you are writing answers, if you are stuck up with one question, don't you remember God at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it? You always remember God. Oh God, please help me write this answer. Because you know that there are no other means. So only your prayer to God can help. So this is a human nature, very realistically depicted in the story. So Lanchu and his family, they decide, they think there is only hope that God will help them. Now, why do they hope that only God will help them?
Sorry, ma'am.
Why do they hope that God will help them?
Ma'am, because they have faith in
Right, very good. Because they have faith in God, a firm faith in God. We don't know where the God is, we have not seen, we don't know whether God exists or not. Yet, right from our childhood, we have been given this faith in the existence of God. And with this faith, we move on in our life. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. Each one in the family tries to console each other, tries to comfort each other, telling that no, we should not be sad because no one dies of hunger. Yes, children. Yes, Anmol. You know what happens? Like we often discuss it, that God has created all of us. So God would provide us with some sources that can help us to stay alive. Isn't it? That's why we say that the one who is born on the earth cannot die of hunger. God would definitely create something for him. So, what is that? That is a faith, that is a hope, that the belief in the existence of God gives to us. So, these people in the family, they also think they should not worry, they should not be sad. No one would die hungry. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. That's what they say, meaning people. The family they are discussing, that the people believe no one dies of hunger. So we should not be worried. We would not die of hunger. Definitely there would be something that would help us to meet the ends of life, that will help us to survive in our life. Is that line clear?
yes, ma'am.
All through the night, Rancho thought only of this one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Throughout the night, Lanshu had been thinking of only one thing, the hope. He had not given up. He is definitely sad, he is distraught, but at the same time, there is hope. Hope that the God would help. Why? Because it is believed, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, meaning we have been taught, we have been told right from the early childhood that God has his eyes, who can see everything, even what lies in one's deep conscience, meaning what lies in one's heart. God can read your mind, God can read your heart. This is what we have learned from our elders,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So this is the belief that Lynch also carries with himself. And that gives him hope that God would help. Lencho was an ox of man, working like an animal in the fields. He was an ox of a man. He was so hard working that he would work day and night. He would work tirelessly in the fields like the animals do, and he would never get tired. But still, he knew how to write. He was a farmer, he was tilling the land, he was doing farming the whole day tirelessly. It does not mean that he was illiterate. No, he was literate. He could write also. So what did he do? The following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. So the next Sunday, what he did, it was the daybreak, it was early in the morning, he started writing a letter. Who is he going to write a letter?
Lencho.
No. Who is he writing this letter to? Who
God.
is writing the letter to?
God.
God. He began to write a letter to God, and he decided he would carry it down to the town and he would post it. He would post it, he would place it in the mailbox. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Yes, you were right that this was a letter to God. Do you think that God would receive his letter?
No.
God would not receive his letter. Do you think he would get a reply from God?
No.
No. Yet there would be someone. Yet there would be someone, of course, not God himself, but sometimes we believe that perhaps God has sent one to help. In the time of crisis, a little help you get from someone, you get relieved. And that time you feel, oh, perhaps God has sent him to help me only. Doesn't it happen many a times?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. In this letter, these are the contents of the letter. He writes to God that God, please help me. Because if you don't help, then me and my family would die of hunger. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again. Pesos is the Mexican currency, Latin American currency, right? A small currency. So he says that I need 100 pesos in order to buy the seeds and sow them and to live until the crop comes. 100 pesos I need that I would sow the seeds until my crop grows. I need the money otherwise to survive also because the hailstorm has destroyed my crop completely. I don't know where to go. I am dependent on this crop only for the whole year. He wrote to God on the envelope. He put this letter in the envelope, and on the letterhead, on the envelope head, he had written to God, the address. And he put the letter inside, still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox, hoping that the letter would go to the God, right? The letter would go to the God. Why he thinks so? Such an elderly man, and he doesn't know that it will not reach the God. Why he does not know? He must be knowing that it will not go to God. Yet he goes and drops the letter in the mailbox. He writes a letter to the God because of his faith in God. His faith in God does not let him accept that this letter would not go to God. Right? A small child, he has lost his grandfather. Right? And out of innocence, he asks his father or mother, where is my grandpa? Where has he gone to? And father, just in order to distract his mind, he says, your father has gone to the sky, mingled with the stars in the sky. And you know what happens? The child every day in the evening when he finds the stars in the sky, then he keeps looking at the stars. And he would keep asking, Grandpa, you are one of them. Can you see me? You can see me, I cannot see you. Have you heard such stories?
Yes, ma'am.
right? So why that boy, he looks at the sky, looking for the star, who he thinks that is his grandfather. It is his belief. It is his faith. That faith, that belief has been given by his father. So we are given that faith right from the early childhood, right? One of the employees who was a postman and also helped at the post office went to his boss laughing heartily and showed him the letter to God. One postman who was on duty there at the post office, he picked up that letter and he went to his boss, that is the postmaster, and he laughed while handing over that letter to him. Look at this letter, sir. This letter has been addressed to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. He never came across. He never came across one such letter where the letter has been addressed to God. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, amiable, friendly. The postmaster, he was fat, but he looked very friendly. He also broke out laughing. First, he also started laughing. Oh, the letter sent to God. The foolish man, how he thinks that the letter would go to God. But almost immediately he turned serious. First he laughed and then he became serious. And tapping the letter on his desk, commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter, starting up a correspondence with God." First, he also laughed at it, made fun of that letter, but soon he turned serious because he thought over this very thing. Oh, letter to God, that does reflect, that does depict the faith of the man who has addressed this letter to the God. That is suggestive of his strong faith in God. That's why he commented, "What faith!" What faith, meaning the writer of the letter had a strong faith in God. I wish I had the faith of man. He says that I wish I would also have had the same faith, such a strong faith in God, and written a letter to God. Postmaster did not have that faith because postmaster knew that the God we cannot see anywhere. God does not exist, right? But he says that if I had the faith, perhaps I also would have written this letter. Starting up a correspondence with God. Oh, my God, such a strong faith that he started a correspondence, he started communication with the God by writing letter. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea: answer the letter. The postmaster, he thought that the writer of the letter, that is Lencho, his faith in God should be firm, should be intact. He never wanted to shake his faith in God. So he decided that he would answer his letter on behalf of God. He would answer his letter on behalf of God so that he keeps his faith alive. He keeps his faith firm and intact, right? He does not change his faith in God. You see that if Lencho did not get the answer, then Lencho would lose faith in God. He would think, oh, the people just make false statements that there is God and the God helps the people. There is no God. The God never hears. The God never helps you, right? So just to keep his faith firm, what he decides that he would answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill ink and paper. He thought that he had a right goodwill, meaning right intent, and he would help him by writing it on a paper with the ink. But when he opened the letter, he found that no, ink and paper would not do everything. He needed more than that to answer his letter. Now, what do you think was it that he needed more?
Maybe money.
Right, money. He had asked for money. He had asked the God for money. So now the postmaster realized he had not simply to answer the letter by giving a message, but he had asked for money, so he has to provide money also. But he stuck to his resolution. He stuck to his resolution, meaning he had been sticking, he had been firm with his decision that he would answer his letter. He asked for money from his employees. He had a solution. He had decided that he would send him money. So he talked to his colleagues, his employees, and he just requested them for money. He himself gave part of his salary. He donated the money from his own salary as well. And several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. Charity, do you know what is a charity?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Some type of donation or help to
Type of
someone.
help, right? We do charity by donating money. We do charity by giving away the books, notebooks, by giving clothes, by giving food, right? So that is charity. An act of help in kinds, that is charity. Fine? Okay. So he asked his friends, he asked his employees to donate some money. And some of his friends, they also obliged him by giving him something because they thought that it was a charitable act. And when you start charity, nobody says no to it. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos. So he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. How much money did Lancho ask for?
100 pesos.
100 pesos. Do you think that the postmaster could collect 100 pesos?
Maybe.
No, he could not. He was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. The farmer needed 100 pesos, but he could collect only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Renshaw and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature. Why? That is to make him believe that this has been sent by God. And he put the money in the envelope. Right? Yes. A few comprehension check, a little comprehension check. Who or what did Lenshu have faith in?
Lancho have faith in God.
Right. What did he do?
He wrote a letter to God.
Good. Who read the letter?
Lancho read the letter. No, postmaster read the letter.
Yes. The postmaster read the letter. What did the postmaster do then?
He asked from his employees and friends to do some charity.
Right. And he collected the money. He could not collect 100 pesos, but a little more than half. And he put that money in an envelope and sent to Lencho on behalf of God. Right? Now let us see how Lencho receives it when it reaches him. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. The next Sunday, he came to the post office because he was curious. He was waiting. So he came to inquire if there was any letter for him. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him. The same postman, he handed the letter to him that yes, there is a letter for him. While the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. The postmaster, he was very content. He was happy that day. Why? Because he had tried to help someone. It happens, Anmol. When you help someone, after that, you really feel, you get a sense of pleasure. You get a feeling of contentment at that time. You get so relieved, you get so much peace in your mind that your small act could help someone in need. Doesn't it happen?
Yes, ma'am.
किसी की थोड़ी सी भी अगर आप हेल्प करते हैं तो उसके बाद आपको अच्छा लगता है ना कि वो मेरे छोटे से एफर्ट से उसकी ये हेल्प हो सकी, right? So the same kind of feeling the postmaster also had at that time. But he looked on from his office when the postman gave him that letter. The postmaster was in his office and he had just been watching Lancho from there because he wanted to see his expression. If Lancho is happy or not. Lancho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Lancho received that letter, opened the envelope, and he found the money. But he was not surprised because he was very much hopeful that God would send him money. Such was his confidence, such was his faith. But he became angry when he counted the money. Why did he become angry when he counted the money?
Because it was not 100 pesos.
Right. What, do you think Lancho did right?
No, ma'am.
If you were Lancho, what would you have done, Anmol?
I would happy.
You would have been happy, okay. How would you have expressed your happiness?
Ma'am, by saying thank you to God.
Right, right. Thank you, God. Thank you so much. I knew you would help me. I know you are there to take care of everyone, etc., etc., right? You would have expressed the happiness that way. But no, instead, Lancho became angry. So what? He did not get all the 100 pesos. At least he has got some money, isn't it? Somebody has said, you remember, somebody has said, something is better than nothing.
Yes,
One
ma'am.
should remember, isn't it? You can quote it. If you get one such question, you can always quote it, right? If you had been in this situation, then you would say, I would have been happy and I would have been thankful to God. I would have expressed my gratitude immediately because I believe something is better than nothing. So what? Not 100 pesos, but at least some money Lancho had received that could help him. Right? Okay. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lancho what he had requested. He was thinking that God would never make this mistake. That I asked for 100 pesos and God would not send me 100 pesos. No, this is not possible. Nor could he have denied Lancho. And God would never deny, never refuse to help Lancho. He asked for 100 pesos, God would definitely give him 100 pesos. This is what he was thinking. Immediately, Lancho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. Why do you think he was asking for paper and ink?
I don't know.
He would write another letter. He would write another letter to God. Can you guess what he would write in this letter now?
He would demanding for rest pesos.
rest of the pesos. He would complain. He would complain to God. You sent me not 100 pesos. In fact, he would not complain to God, but he would definitely express his disappointment that he had not got the full money that he had requested for. All right. So on the public writing table, he started to write with much wrinkling of his brow. Wrinkling of his brow is an expression of anger. Anger, perplexed, anxious. He was very anxious and he started writing with much wrinkling of his brow caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. Wrinkling of his brow is also that he was lost in thinking. He had been thinking what to write. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp. He wrote the letter and he proceeded further to get a stamp, which he licked and then fixed onto the envelope with a blow of his fist. With the blow of fist. Yes?
Ma'am, what is the meaning of brow?
Blow of his fist is when you paste something, right? When you paste something, then don't you fold your hand and then with your hand you just press on this.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, किसी चीज को पेस्ट करते हैं तो उसके ऊपर ग्लू लगा के फिर अपने हैंड को फोल्ड करके ऐसे ऐसे प्रेस करते हैं ना.
Yes, ma'am.
That is blow of fist. Fist is when you fold your hands.
And right? What is the meaning of brow?
Brow is the eyebrow.
Okay.
Right? The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. As he dropped the letter into the mailbox, after Lencho had left, the postmaster opened the mailbox and took the letter out. He wanted to see what he had written. It said, do you think that the postmaster was right that he took the letter out of the mailbox and started reading?
Ma'am, he was conscious about what Lencho's wrote.
What Lencho had written. Yeah, there was nothing wrong if he had done it, because this letter was in response to the answer Lencho thought that he got from the god. But actually that answer was given by the postmaster. So the postmaster had the full right to do so, right? Now he opened the letter, and what he found, the content, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest since I need it very much. He asked for the money again. He asked for the money again, that I received only 70 pesos, whereas I asked for 100 pesos. So please send me the remaining money since I urgently need it, but don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Crooks, do you know?
No, ma'am.
Crooks meaning unscrupulous people, dishonest people. Is Lencho right?
No, ma'am.
Calling the employees of the post office as crooks?
No, ma'am.
He says that you send it to me through the mail. Don't send it to me through the mail, because if you send it through the mail, then the post office employees, they are dishonest. They would get it. What does it suggest? That he is suspicious about the employees of the post office, that perhaps these employees of the post office, they have stolen or they have taken away that 30 pesos of him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
No. Do you think they had taken away the 30 pesos?
No, ma'am.
No, they are the ones who had contributed, which Lancho was not aware of. Lancho did not know, he was completely ignorant that these employees are actually the ones who had collected the money and sent to him. In return, Lancho is not thankful. Rather, Lancho is complaining about them as if they are dishonest people. So what does it indicate, Anmol, here? You see what it is? There is a conflict. He does have a faith in God, about whom he doesn't know anything, who he had never seen, but he does not have faith in humans, his fellow humans, those who actually help him. Isn't it a conflict?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? The conflict between the faith in God and faith in fellow humans. Now, what is that conflict? He has a firm faith in God that he writes a letter asking for the money. He rewrites a letter asking for the remaining amount of the money. But he does not have faith in his fellow humans who had actually collected the money out of their salary and sent to him to help him. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the theme of the story. Fine. Any problem till here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So tomorrow we will discuss the question answers and the exercises, right?
Okay, ma'am.
You will revise it in case any problem you will ask.
Okay, ma'am.